Hello, lords and ladies. Welcome back to Cartoon Hangout, your place for all things cartoon. This week seems to be quite a week for Scooby-Doo fans because on top of Trick or Treat going viral a little bit and people talking about how Velma has come out as a lesbian in that movie, we actually have gotten some images of what the characters Shaggy, Daphne, and Fred are going to look like in the upcoming adult animated Velma series. So I'm not going to really talk about that first thing I mentioned, Velma being gay. I feel like I've sort of like touched on it a little bit on Twitter, but if I review the movie, which I haven't seen yet, I might talk about it more, but I'm not going to touch on it right now. For now, I wanted to share the images of what the character is going to look like in Velma. So we have... First off, I want to start off with, like, the least shocking one, which is Fred, who is going to be voiced by Glenn Howerton. Fred looks like Fred. He's got the ascot, he's got the white t-shirt, looks like Fred. Alright? Next up, we have Daphne, voiced by Constance Wu. I'm not 100% sure. I've heard some people say this, but I think she's Asian now. I don't want to be like, she looks Asian, or anything like that. I'm just saying, if the trend of the character being sort of like changed to match the voice actor continues, then I would imagine that Daphne is probably Asian. Now, some people have come down a little hard on Daphne's appearance in this. Some are saying that it's a really bad take on Daphne, and that's setting aside the race thing, okay? No. I'm not trying to accuse anyone of racism here. I'm just saying they think that she doesn't really look like Daphne. She looks like a standard, someone said Family Guy female character, but Family Guy designs are a little bit different than this. She does kind of look like a random female character in your standard generic adult animated show, which this is an adult animated show. So, I can kind of see that criticism. Like, it's not terrible. I'd really have to see, like, more of her in the show, as well as to, like, hear what the voice sounds like. But, like, honestly, if I saw this image and someone said, who do you think this is? I probably might not say Daphne. I mean, yes, all the Telltale, design is here, red hair, purple clothes or whatever. But I don't know if I would have made that assumption that this was Daphne. So, with Fred, it's, like, very evident that it's Fred. Like, if someone showed that image to me and they're like, who's this? I would have been like, yeah, that's Fred. Alright? Now, I don't think we have an image of Velma yet, but Velma is confirmed to be of Indian descent in this upcoming show. So, a lot of people are assuming that it's probably going to look like the voice actress, but wearing Velma's clothes. So, imagine that how you'd like. The one that's actually more shocking than, honestly, Fred or Daphne is what Shaggy looks like. Or as he's called here, Norville. And I want to just point out that Norville is Shaggy's actual name. Okay, he just goes by Shaggy. But it's kind of funny that they're just going to, like, straight up just saying his name is Norville. I mean, maybe he'll be called Shaggy in the show. I don't know. I think the more surprising thing is he's black. And you might be thinking, of course, I can see. I have eyes. And of course, you have eyes. You can see this. And the first thing I thought was, I'm surprised it's taken this long for Warner Brothers to be like, let's race swap all the Scooby-Doo characters. Because the only character they've ever really messed around with was Velma. She was Asian in, like, one of the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. I think it might have been the Cartoon Network one. I can't remember who played her in the raunchy adult ones. But, like, in the Cartoon Network live-action ones, she was played by an Asian actress. And then she was vaguely Hispanic in Scoob. And then supposedly she was supposed to be Jewish in Mystery Inc. And now she's Indian. So she's kind of been the only character to kind of have her race changed quite a bit. But Shaggy is now just straight on a black guy. And I want to get into this. For me personally, I'm not really a fan of race swapping. I'm not hugely into it. I think if you want diversity, you should just make new characters, which I feel like works better. I feel like that has a longer lasting impact than briefly race swapping a white character, only for that character to like still be white in pretty much everything else they've appeared in. I think that does better for diversity than what this show seems like it's going to be doing. But just to, well, technically it's not a preface since I'm saying it afterwards, but just to be clear, I am also not a fan of whitewashing. I don't think that's a good idea either, you know. But that doesn't really happen as often, especially in like cartoons anymore. Like maybe back in like the 80s upwards, there might be like like a diverse character who suddenly becomes white in the adaptation or something, but it very rarely seems to happen now. I think the last time I can recall a character being whitewashed was with like the live action Winx Club. But it doesn't really happen too often. In fact, it's the other way around that it usually happens. It's like a character usually gets race swapped, and it somehow weirdly seems to always be like the redheads. So, hey, props for the show. They didn't. I mean, technically they did race swap Daphne, but she still has red hair, so that's a plus. So yeah, like I'm saying, I'm not really a big fan of race swapping, so I kind of wish they hadn't race swapped the characters. I feel like they should have just stuck to how they looked. I mean, sure, redesigned them a little bit, because even, like, What's New Scooby-Doo redesigned the characters, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Be Cool Scooby-Doo to a degree, so they have been redesigned, but you could still look at them and go, yeah, that is, Shaggy, that's Scooby, that's Velma, that's Fred. With these, especially with, like, Shaggy, I feel like if someone had shown this to me, I would not have been like, that's Shaggy. And it also kind of gives, like, a different vibe, right? Like, it doesn't really, like, it feels like a different character. Somebody also pointed that out as well, is that he seems like a very different character. It feels like similar to what Rise of the TMNT did, and I hesitate to bring this up because I got a lot of backlash when I talked about that show too. But it seems similar to how Rise did it, where they race swapped April, and the character ended up being kind of like changed personality-wise to the point where she felt just like an original character, that they somehow slapped April O'Neil's name onto it, even though she didn't really share anything else in common with the character. So some people are kind of like guessing that Shaggy in this show probably is not going to act like previous incarnations. And somebody else said in the comments, hey, not all change is bad. True, not all change is bad. Not all change is good either. And I don't want to come out and be like, this is a bad change. It's certainly not something I'm a fan of. Like, again, I said, I don't like race swaps or whitewashing or anything like that. I don't like it when they, like, take a character who is one thing and they're like, we're going to slap a bunch of other stuff onto them because we need, like, more diverse characters. When you could just make new diverse characters, Like, characters like Black Panther, Luke Cage, some of the best Marvel characters did not start off as being, like, diverse versions of pre-existing characters. They were their own characters. And, that's one reason why they went on to become so popular. People put into work to push for diversity in the Marvel comics with these characters at a time where you would have probably gotten a lot more backlash for having a black character as a lead or anything like that. So they put in the effort, and I wish more creators these days would put in that effort, because black people deserve it. Asians, Hispanics, they deserve to have themselves on screen, their own characters, though, instead of just hand-me-downs from white people, So, yeah, I'm not a fan of the characters being race swapped in this incarnation of Velma, or in this incarnation of Scooby-Doo. That being said, if the show is good, then it's something I can overlook. I'm not so like, you're like, oh, they race swap these characters? Oh, fuck. Even if the show is good, I'm not watching it. No, like, if the show is still pretty damn good, I'll pray, I'll say that. It might, a couple of points might be knocked off for, the race swapping and stuff like that, but if the show's good, the show's good. I'm reminded of a show called Elementary. It's not a recent, but I guess relatively speaking, adaptation of the Sherlock Holmes stories, right? And in it, Watson is no longer a, like, white British dude, but is a Asian female dude. And the thing is, you think, oh, you don't like race swaps, so you probably didn't like that. No, but she did such a good job. I can't remember the actress' name off the top of my head. I apologize, but she did such a fantastic job as Watson, and the show was really good, especially like the earlier seasons. That I didn't care, right? Like if you had said, do you think the character should have been race swapped? I probably still would have said no, but the character was still really fantastic to watch. The actress did such an amazing job that I overlooked it, and the show went on to become one of my favorite TV shows. I recently rewatched it, and it still holds up. Some of the later episodes in the show, not so much, but it's still pretty fantastic. So if Velma is good, then I'm going to come out and say it's good. I still don't know if I'm going to watch it, and it's not really because of the race swapping or whatever. It's just the stuff I'd heard about it beforehand didn't really warm me up to warm me up at all about it. I don't know how this show is going to turn out. It's an adult animated show, so how is this going to handle the Scooby-Doo characters? Are they going to be parodies of themselves, sort of like the live action Scooby-Doo movies? Is it going to be raunchy? Apparently there's going to be a serial killer in it, and this is set before Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Although that seems unlikely, given that in order for it to be a prequel, these characters would have to go through another race swap. Shaggy would suddenly have to become a white guy by then. I might watch an episode. It is on HBO. It's going to be out on HBO Max. Sorry. Which I do have, or my sister has it, more accurately. So I could just watch it on there. So I probably will watch an episode. I don't know if I'm going to review it or not, but I'll give it a shot. I'll say that much. But I don't know. I kind of wish they hadn't race swapped the characters, but if the show's good, it's good. So hopefully it will be good. Anyways, I've ranted on a little bit too long. I was only trying to make a 5-minute video. Now it's 12 minutes. I'm not really a fan of doing unscripted videos because I like to be able to think ahead of time of what I want to say. So hopefully this hasn't been too ranty. Hopefully you guys have been able to follow it. If you guys would like, please leave a comment down below what you think about the character designs for them. Please keep it civil, okay? Let's not get crazy in the comments about this. It is still a cartoon show after all. As much as I disagree with some of the creative decisions happening, I don't want everyone to lose their minds in the comments and be nasty to each other. So please keep it civil. Yeah, I think that's about it. I don't think I have anything else to discuss. Before I close, I do have a merch store and a Buy Me Coffee account. I'm trying to raise money to take my cat to the vet. So far, I have raised $125. So if that interests you guys, there will be links to that in the comments, or in the description, I mean. And yeah, I'd really appreciate it. You don't have to if you don't have the money, so don't feel like you are forced to by any means. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Take care.